Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be going over the coding for grade.py. In grade.py what we're going to do is we're going to write a program that takes in a bunch of grades, so a user-defined number of test grades. It's going to populate a list of grades, validating that the grades are between 40 and 100. It's also going to validate that the test grades, that the number of test grades are actually an integer greater than 0, so a positive integer. Then it's going to identify the minimum and maximum grade. It's going to calculate the average. Just to let you know, the minimum and maximum, that's just a review. We're not going to actually use that in this code, but I want to just go over that here. We will use the average because what we're going to do is once we find the average, we're going to go back through the list and identify which tests should be retaken based on if they are less than the average. So here's some example input. So like you try to say like how many tests, -1, 0, A, or 0.1, those are all going to get rejected because of our getInt procedure. Then also, once we do get a positive number of tests, it's got to be between 40 and 100, so you can't put in 0, you can't put 101. But here's the actual program running. If you put in 5 tests, here's the 5 test scores. And then it outputs the average, and it says you should retake test 1, test 2, test 4 because your averages or your test scores are these. Okay, so to get you started, here's a whole description of everything. We're going to have the main procedure. We're going to have a getInt procedure. It takes in prompt, also an error message. The find min, find max, which takes in the grade list. Find average, again, grade list. And the find retake, that takes in the grade list and the average. Things to note, though, when you're using you coding the min, the max, and the average, you cannot use the pre-built procedures for min, max, and sum. You must manually traverse the list and then do the calculation or find the value based on that. Again, this is all just practicing our what am I trying to say? The algorithms that we learned in class. All right. And I do have starter code for you. So once you're logged into your VS Code, you can copy this. So copy that whole thing, bring it on over here. Go cd unit 4. I already have my grade directory set up. So all I need to do is just run that. So paste and enter. And you see grade.py populates right there. All right, so let me do that. And we are ready to go. So you should rename with your own name there. Let me just double check that my color theme is actually going to work. Hopefully it does. I'm going to refresh just to make sure because it doesn't look like it's being color. All right, so sorry for that little confusion there. Oh, I don't want the black theme while I'm doing a presentation. It's easier to see, at least for presentation purposes, that one. Okay, so main function, get a positive integer number of grades, validating it is a positive integer. If it's not a positive integer, give an error message. All right, so validating, that's always a while loop, while true, because you never know how long it's going to take. So while true, like just n equals get int, and then the input I want, or the prompt I want, I should say, how many tests have you taken? All right. And then, so that's the prompt, and the error message, in case they put in the wrong thing, is to give a positive integer number of tests. Give a positive integer number of tests. All right. And so if n is bigger than 0, that's what we want, then we break. Else, we print that same error message. All right. So the reason we have to do this twice is, so I'm going to copy that and paste. The reason I'm doing this twice is because, don't want the double quote. This one gets printed if I put in like a letter A or decimal value. But if I do put in an integer, the getInt's not going to catch that. If I put in like a -1, it's going to go down here. All right. So this error message here takes care of any non-integer values. And then if it's an integer value but not the right type of integer, that's what goes there. All right. So now I've called my getInt procedure. I should probably write that getInt procedure. So I'm going to go down here, getInt. So all you got to do is delete that hash, and we can start coding from there. So if I go down, tab in. So again, this is validating. So while true, we try to return an integer value based on input from the prompt. All right. If or with the exception of a value error, that means like if we're looking for, we're looking for an integer. If we get a value error, meaning a character, a string, a decimal, we want to print the error message. Okay. We can, I think, since all this other stuff is commented out, we should be able to test this at this point. So let's see, Python grade.py. How many tests? So if I do A, give a positive integer. -1, give a positive integer. 0.1, all good stuff. And then if I type in 5, it takes. Okay, good. All right, so that works. Create a blank list of sorted grades. Okay, so grade list equals blank. Populate that based on the input I got. So for I in range n, I'm going to loop this n times, and I'm going to get grades, but I have to validate that the grade is between 40 and 100. So again, this is a validating input. We're going to use while true. All right, while true, grade equals a get int, right? That's going to validate that's an integer. And let's see, what is your grade on test? So what is your grade on, and technically it should be that. But then for the number, remember I is my incrementing variable, so it should be a formatted, should have done that, formatted I, but remember I starts at 0, so I plus 1 for the first test, 2 for the second, so on and so forth. And then, so that's my input there. And then test grades are between 40 and 100 inclusive. That's my error message. So test grades are between 40 and 100 inclusive. All right. So if the grade is between 40 and 100, so 40 less than equal to grade less than equal to 100, we break. Else, we print that same error message. Test grades are between 40 and 100 inclusive. All right. And if we've gotten past this, so if we've gotten a valid grade and we break out, then we say grade list dot append. We actually append the grade to grade list. Okay, and to validate if this works, what we could do is, after going through this whole thing, temporarily let's print grade list to see if it actually works. So I'm gonna try this again. How many tests? Let's just take 2 tests. Oh, I should have, let's see, question mark with a space there. Okay, so here I should do question mark with a space. It's not going to show up this time, but it'll show up next time around. Let's say 10. Okay, didn't work. 40. Okay, now test 2. 101, didn't take. 100. Good, 40 and 100. All right, so validate that it works. Good. So I can get rid of this little print statement here. Find the maximum value. So I'm going to use a procedure to do that. So what's the procedure called? Find min, find max. Okay, so I must have, when I set this up, deleted that on accident. My apologies. Find the minimum and maximum value in the grade list. So so minimum equals find min of the grade list, and maximum equals find max from the grade list. All right, this is just practice here. So find min, find max, it's right here. And we're just going through. So I've taken the grade list. So we know that min equals grade list bracket. That's our first guess. Grade list bracket 0. For I in range when grade list. So we traverse the list. And for each element, if grade list bracket I is less than the current min, what that means is we found a new min. So we update min equals grade list bracket I. Oops, not double bracket, just I. All right, and then after we traverse the whole list, we return min. Okay, and we're going to do that same thing for the max. So I can pretty much copy it because I'm only going to do a couple updates. So I'm going to do copy and paste, and I'm just going to say max instead of min. Let's see here. It's going to be, if it's bigger than, again, max, I'm going to say max gets updated, and then return max. Okay. Oh, that got tabbed in for some reason. Let's do that. Okay, good. Now I have those two. Let's again practice this. So let's here print the formatted print. Min is minimum. Max is maximum. All right, so let's see how if this part works. So call this. I'm going to take in 3 grades. We'll do 40, 60, and a 90. Min is 40, max is 90. Good. All right, so I can delete that. That was purely just for practice. We're not actually going to use that in our output, but just want to make sure we review that at every possible chance. Didn't take that long. All right, average. We will use the average. Okay, so av equals find av from the grade list. This is where we call it. Let's actually write it down here. So create a procedure that finds the average. This is a part of an older program, so we're not going to do this part. So all we're going to do is find the average. So to find the average, you need the sum divided by the number of numbers. So we do sum equals 0, initialize that to 0, and then for I in range when grade list, sum plus equals grade list bracket I. So remember, sum starts at 0, and then for every element in the list, as we traverse the list, we add, sorry for that, we add that list to the sum. And then after we're done with this loop, so we're outside of the for loop, we can say the average, av, is equal to sum divided by len grade list. I do want that sum to be, or the average to be rounded to 1 decimal, the 10th. And then once we're done with all that, we return average, return av. Okay, so all the way up here, where was it? Right here. Let's print average, or print av. Let's see if it worked. Okay, so if we again do this, we're going to take in 3 grades. I said like 40, 60, and 90. That should average. Let's see, 40 and 60 is 100, 90 is 190, 190 divided by, let's do 80. 180, that should be an average of 60, 60.0. Good. Okay. It works. And now, here is the real meat of our program, because what we've done so far is we have taken in a list of grades and we found the average. That does not technically meet all the requirements for the create performance task for APCSP, because to do that, you don't really need a list to identify an average, to calculate an average. What we could have done is just make a loop and loop as many times as the user wants, just continually add values and find the average. That does not require a list. What we're really going to use the list is, now that we have the list, we're going to compare each value in the list to the average, and then you can actually do something. So once you take a value, take a list and make a comparison in some way. So if you take a string and access each character or letter separately, or all that kind of stuff, you actually have to do something. Instead of just calculating an average, finding a sum, finding a min or max, that's not really using the list to its fullest extent. You have to actually use the list. And here is where we're going to really use the list. We are going to go back through the list and identify tests to retake, the ones that are lower than the average. Okay, so find retake is what I called it. I'm going to take in the grade list. I'm going to take in the average. Okay. So down here, def find retake, and it's going to be a really simple procedure. It's going to take in a list, so I'm going to traverse the list, which is my loop, for I in range len grade list. So for I in range len grade list, there's my loop. Here's my condition. If grade list bracket I is less than the average, is less than av, print. Let's see, and here's where you need to be really careful, because it's got to match mine. You should retake test. So as a formatted print, you should retake test. And remember, it's curly bracket I, but I starts at 0, so I plus 1, because test 1 is the first one. So retake 1, comma, your score was, comma, your score was, and then it would be grade list square bracket I. All right. So it's, it's 4 lines of code, but this is like really what meets all, 4 lines of code meets all the requirements for the create performance task. I've defined my own procedure, my own name, taken in at least one parameter. Here I've actually taken in 2. I use a loop. I use a list in a meaningful way. I have a conditional that produces output, takes an input, produces output. All right. For that reason, it really meets all the requirements. So the coding should not be the hard part. Really, the write-up should be. But I do need to validate that it works. So if I remember correctly, 5 tests, 73, 78, 86, 61, and 100. So 5 tests, 73, let's see, 73, 78, 86, 61, and 100. 86, 61, and 100. And I'm almost there. So I forgot to print the average. So there's a number of places I could do that. I think where I did it in my answer key was here. So I should have said print as a formatted print. And what was it? Average grade is av. So let's try that again. Oops. All right, so 5 tests, 73, 78, 81. Nope, I'm doing this wrong. 73, 78, 86. Let me try to break this. Try it again. 5 tests. I should have written this down somewhere. 73, 78, 86, 61, 100. 79.6 is my average. And it's tests 1, 2, and 4. 73, 78, 61. Okay, so now we have it working. If you have any questions, please check in with your teacher. But at this point, it should be working. Thank you very much. Have a great day.